Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Benedict here again from Jogging and Company Associates. And remember we had done P&L using Power BI. There was no DAX coding. So the same principle that we had used earlier when we were doing P&L is the same principle that we want to use to build balance sheet. So here we have our imaginary trial balance with debits and credits, and this is for 2017. And then we also have various branches. And then of course we have P&L items and balance sheet items. So our first step here is to check on our balance sheet layout. So we want our layout in Power BI to appear in this format. So these are these items and indexes is what we'll use to expand our trial balance. So the first step here is to have the trial balance as we have, and then the next step is to have the layout the way you'll want it to appear within our Power BI. So the second step now, the third step now is now to expand our TB. So here, let me just minimize this first. So here is what we have as expanded TB. So we have date and numerical values. We have branch, we have sub-ledger, and then we also have ledger items. And then on the first column we have category items, of which here we have balance sheet items and P&L items. So before I move into creating more columns to tie with this layout, let's see what we have as numerical values. So here we have ledger items that we need to use in creating our balance sheet. So what happens when you create a balance sheet in this layout? First, you'll have current assets, then you'll have total current assets, you'll have current liabilities, and then you'll also have total current liabilities. So the net current assets will be the summation, rather will be total current assets minus current liabilities. So within our expanded TB, we have our current liabilities as negative, and then all other ledger items are positive. We have them as negative in the sense that we want to add the two to get the net current assets, because net current assets is total current assets minus total current liabilities. So when we have negative values of current liabilities and then we add to total current assets, we'll have the net current assets. So these other values will be positive, except the depreciation and amortization within tangible assets. So depreciation is always being netted off from the assets so that we can have the net book values of the assets. So the dip and amortization will be having a negative value within our expanded TB. So here we have all other ledger items are positive, and then the current liabilities are negative. And then we also have depreciation and amortization being negative, because we need to net them off from the tangible assets to have the net book values. And then down here we also have cash and bank, and this one is just a bank overdraft. And then down here we also have so initially I was talking about the balance sheet items, but when you go to P&L items, we know that there are values that we need to net off from income to arrive at our earnings after tax. So all those values that will net off from sales and other income will have the negative values the way we had in when you are doing P&L within Power BI. So these are the first step that you need to note, that there are values that have to be negative, there are values that must be positive. So our next step within our expanded TB, so we need to create columns that will tie with the balance sheet layout in this format. So we'll start with index 1 going down to index 12. So starting with index 1 will mean within our expanded TB, we'll have the first column as current assets. So this is our current assets. But before the current assets, we have main ledger. So these are just the ledger items that we want to appear within our balance sheet. But there are some ledger items that we will want to appear differently as opposed to this other ledger format. So when you come down here, you'll find that rather not down, but when you come here up here, you'll see that under capital, the ledger items for capital, I've used them rather within the main ledger. I've changed them to equity because we know equity is capital and retained earnings. So all the retained earnings and capital plus the profit that we'll get from the current period, we'll put them under equity. And then when you come down here, we have also have long-term liabilities. And within long-term liabilities, we have liability 1, liability 2, liability 3, and liability 4. So we don't want our balance sheet layout to have this long-term liability 1, long-term liability 2 up to 4. We just want long-term liabilities, and we also have equity to give us the total capital employed. So this column is just the rearrangement of the first column of this column called ledger. So I hope you understood. So everything here that is falling under equity, so these are just under, these are from P&L items. So when I scroll on the when I scroll to my left, you can see these are P&L items. We know that for us to arrive to earnings after tax, all the P&L items will be used to arrive at earnings after tax. So they will all form part of equity and part of capital employed. So let's begin with our current assets. So I hope you've understood why I came up with the main ledger. So our first index here is a current asset as index 1. So within current assets, we need to choose the ledger items that forms part of current assets. And these are the ledger items. So you can see we have loan advances, cash and bank. We have also prepayments. And then after forming that, we have the second index, which is total current assets. And then when we come to total current assets, they are the same ledger items within current assets. So this is another column for total current assets, and we know they are the same ledger items within our current assets. So index 1 and index 2 will share the same ledger items. Then now we go to index 3, and index 3 is current liabilities. So when we go to current liabilities, these are the ledger items that we have under current liabilities. So we have creditors, we have creditors non-trade, we have Creditors for trade, we have customer advances, we have trade partners, and we have accrued expenses. And then after current liabilities, we also have total current liabilities as the next index. And total current liabilities will have the same ledger items as current liabilities. And then our next index will be net current assets. So here we have the net current assets, and we had said that net current assets is total assets, or the total current assets minus total current liabilities. So under the net current assets, we'll have all the current liabilities and all the current assets. So this is what we have as net current assets. And when you check, we have current liabilities, and we also have current assets. So our next index again will be tangible assets. And under tangible assets, let's see what we have. Under tangible assets, we have those assets that are tangible, and we have computers and accessories, we have furniture and equipment, and we also have motor vehicles. And of course, we also have dip and amortization. And the reason being that we need to net off our depreciation and amortization from our tangible assets to have the net book values. So here we have dip and amortization, but in ideally we need to have depreciation and not depreciation and amortization. Amortization should fall under intangible assets. So here we just have, and the figures here are just for depreciation, though I've written here dip and amortization. So we need to net off the values from tangible assets to get the net book values. So the next index here will be after tangible assets, we also have total tangible assets, and under total tangible assets, we have all the ledger items that fall under tangible assets will also fall under total tangible assets. The next index will be intangible assets, and other intangible assets we have these values. Intangible assets we only have software license. So that's what we have. Supposing we had amortization for software license, it will also fall under intangible assets because we need to net off the amortization part to get the net book value of the intangible asset. And then from there we have the next index as total non-current assets, and total non-current assets is just the total non-current assets is just the summation of tangible assets and the intangible assets. So when you come over total non-current assets, here we'll have the intangible assets and the tangible assets as well. Okay, so when you check here, we have tangible assets, and here also we have intangible assets. So this may make the total summation of non-current assets. Then from there we have net current assets. So our next index 10 will be total net assets, and we know total net assets is total non-current assets plus total current assets. So the total net assets plus total non-current assets will get total net assets. So when we come under total net assets, what we have here is the ledger items that we have under total net assets. We'll have all the tangible assets, we'll have all the intangible assets, we'll also have all the current assets, and we'll also have all the current liabilities. So net total assets will be total net current assets plus net tangible assets. So the next index here will be capital employed, and we know capital employed is equity and long-term liabilities. So under capital employed, what we have will be here. So we'll have all the P and L items as capital employed, and we'll also have some balance sheet items as part of the capital employed. So here we have balance sheet item. So here we have these two, we have capital, and then when you come down here we also have balance sheet items and rather P&L items, and down here we also have balance sheet items as long-term liabilities and retained earnings. So retained earnings also form part of equity because equity is capital plus retained earnings. So retained earnings we'll get from previous operations plus the current profit that we'll get from current financial performance, and then we'll also add it to capital to form equity. So capital employed will be equity plus retained earnings. It will be capital plus retained earnings plus the current earnings that we have to give us capital employed, rather plus long-term liabilities. So here we under capital employed we'll have long-term liabilities, we'll have equity, and equity is capital and retained earnings. So when we go to total capital employed as the last index, so the total capital employed will have the same ledger items as capital employed. So here again we'll also have capital, we'll have P&L items, the ledger items of P&L, and then we'll also have long-term liabilities, and then we'll also have retained earnings as part of balance sheet items. So after creating all these columns, now we know that these columns are matching with the balance sheet layout. So the next step here is to unpivot this column with the date and values. So we'll unpivot column R, which has date and value, so that we can have two columns for date and values. So we can click on this table anywhere, then we'll go to data menu. Then data menu will click from table command. That will take us to Power Query Editor, and within Power Query Editor I will choose that column with date and values and unpivot. So this is what we've loaded within Power Query. So this is our query. So we need to unpivot this column with the date and values. So we'll come to this last column. So we'll unpivot this column to have two columns with date and values. So I will click on this column, then I will go to Transform tab, then I will come here and click on Pivot Column. So here we have two columns, rather two columns with the date and values, but we need to change the data type within each and every column that we just unpivoted. So here we'll change this one to, we'll change this to, we'll click on ABC and change the data type to date, and then we'll also change the title here to date. Then the value column will change to, whole number as a data type. Then from here now we need to load it back to our Excel workbook. So I will again go back to, I will click the home tab, then I will click close and load. So this will load it to our Excel workbook. So this is what we have as unpivoted table. So it is exactly the same as this unpivoted PS table. So what I was trying to do just to show the procedure. So I'll just try to delete this table that we've just unpivoted, because already we have one. So this is our unpivoted table that we need to use, we need to load in Power BI. So we have three tables that we need to load into Power BI. We have unpivoted BS table, we have balance sheet layout, and we also have the date table. So this table that is called unpivoted table, when we load into Power BI, we'll be again unpivoting these other columns that we created that were matching with the balance sheet layout. So all these columns from total capital employed to current assets will be unpivoted within Power BI. So let me just take you to Power BI, then we follow the procedure. So here we have our Power BI. So we need to get data. So what we'll do here, we'll get data. We'll click on that tab, get data. Then since we are using Excel workbook, we'll choose Excel workbook. Then I will connect. Then I'm using trial balance BS. Then I'll open. Then now within this trial balance data set, we'll choose a BS layout. We choose BSTB, and then we'll also choose date. So these three tables are the one that we need to load into Power BI. But down here we'll not click load, we'll click transform, because we need to unpivot some columns within the BS table before we load it into the front end of Power BI. So I'll click transform. So transform will take us to Power Query Editor. So here we have three queries, but what we need to transform is the BSTB. So this is our fact table within, rather when we load it to front end of the Power BI, it will be our fact table. So we need to unpivot the columns that I had mentioned earlier. So we'll start from total capital employed to current assets. So we'll unpivot all these columns. So again, after selecting all these columns, I'll click transform, then unpivot. So here we have two columns that are similar, so we'll delete one because we just need one column. Delete this column, remove column, and then I will rename this one to let me call it main ledger items. And then I will change also data type should be text. The text is ABC. So now we have already table to be loaded to Power BI, but or rather Power BI front end. But before then, we can also check on the columns that are necessary to our balance sheet, like this one for ledger, because we had we had come up with a new column for the items that we need to appear within our balance sheet, so we can as well do away with this column for ledger. So this one I will remove. Okay, and then again to my left also we can also check on the other columns that we don't need. So we just we have these other columns that we need, and then we also have this category for that we don't need. So this as well I will remove. So from here we are set to load our queries into the front end of our Power BI. So I will click Home tab and click Close and Apply. So our next step here is to now model our tables. We need to create a relationship between the BS layout, the BSTB and the date. So we'll click on this model view on my left. So here we have our fact table as BSTB, and then we also have two data dimension tables as date and BS layout. So the relationship here will be one to many from data dimension tables to the fact table. So here we'll connect from date table to BS table, BSTB. I will connect date with date. Then from BS item, from BS layout, I will connect we'll connect BS items with the main ledger items. Okay. So from here again, now we need to go to our report view. So from here now we can build our balance sheet. So I will click on this matrix. Then I will start with the BS layout. So I want to drag BS items field and drop under rows. And I will also drag main ledger items. Not main ledger items, but main ledger. Rather, the main ledger items. I will drag main ledger items and drop under rows. Okay. Then again I will drag value and drop under values. Then I will go to date because when we are doing our balance sheet, we always have comparative figures. But now we are assuming that we have uh, two years, so we can have comparative figures for the 2 years. So I will also drag a date field from date and drop under column. So here you can see we have 2017. Then now let's try to expand our table, but before then we need to arrange the BL, rather the BS layout. I need to arrange it according to index. So I will come to BS layout and click on BS items. So I will sort it with the index column so that we can start with current assets as we move down to total capital employed. So from here now we have within our matrix, we can now expand the ledger items. So I'll start with the current assets. So just hold on. You are supposed to use not main ledger items, but the ledger items. So let me go back to BSTB. So I will drag the ledger items, the main ledger, and drop under BS, drop under rows. So now we can expand our BS ledger items. So now you see we have current assets as cash and bank, customers advances, loan advances, repayment, and sundry debtors. So we can as well, we will also expand on liabilities. We will expand on tangible assets. We'll expand also on capital employed. Okay. And then now we need to do some cosmetic changes. So we'll click on this format button, and then I will start with the grid. I want to expand the row padding, so I will increase this to 3. And then also we can also change, we can also move to column headers. Column headers we can set to put to center alignment, and then row headers also we can expand the step layout indentation. And then after the row headers, I'll move to total other subtotals. So I want to keep, I want to click the subtotals off, so that we can only see the necessary figures that we need. Apparently what we have here as total down here is not what we need as total capital employed. We just want to see the figures that you want to appear as the layout. So we only want to see the capital, total capital employed as opposed to total. And then we also don't want to see these total figures for current assets, current liabilities, tangible assets. So what we need to do, we'll just come here and click off these row subtotals. So now we have now what we have is exactly what we want. Okay. Then let me try to increase the height of this page. So again, I will click on this blank. I'll click on the blank page and click on this format. Then I'll go to page size. It is 6:9, but I want to custom. So I want to increase the height. I think that's okay. So now I can expand my table. Then after expanding my table again, now I need to do some few cosmetic changes. I need to do a title and a border on the same matrix. I will click on this format button. Then I will go back. I will scroll down to title. I will click this one on. Then I will write here balance sheet. Balance sheet. And then I'll keep it to the center alignment. Then the background color can use this blue color. Okay. When I use the blue color, then the font color can use white. Then I will again do a border on the same. So the cosmetic changes has nothing to do with coming up with the balance sheet within Power BI, but we just want to make it look a bit more appealing. So again, I will go to border. So I will put the border on. Then I want to use the border colors this blue color. Then the border radius, I'll use this 17px. So now we have our balance sheet, but before then, let me just go to rows, not row subtotals, but row headers. I want to click off the plus and minus icons. So I will click this one off. So now we have our balance sheet. So let me make the values to have commas. Okay. So this is our balance sheet. So this was just done for the period for 2017. So let's assume maybe you wanted to do periods for, you want to have comparative figures for 2017 and 2018. But before then, let me just do a little formatting here. Again, I will go to shadow. Let me go to shadow. So now we'll leave it like this, but let's assume you wanted to have comparative figures for the year 2017 and 2018. So this total, I want to do away with it. So what we need to, what I need to do here, I will come up with a table for measures, and the measures we will do here are just straightforward measures, very simple to understand. So I will click on this enter data here under home tab, enter data. So here I want to write measures table. Then I will load. So within the measures table, I want to create two measures for the year 2017 and the year 2018. So now let's have some few measures. So I will click on these three dots to create a measure. So I will click new measure. So the measure here I will write here 2017 is equal to, so these are the values for year 2017, is equal to calculate. Then I'll use sum x. Sum x is for iteration for all the rows. Then I will take BS table, BSTB. Then I'll take the values for BS table. Then again I want to say the date, the year should be 2017. So I will take a date table, the date year. I'll take date year is equal to 2017. Then I will close this brackets. So now we have a measure for year 2017 values. And again, I will also do another measure for year 2018. New measure. So here again we'll write 2018 is equal to calculate, then sum x, then I'll say BS. The table is BSTB, and then the expression here will pick BS values, BSTB values. Then now I need to filter date. So we'll take date here again. Date here will be is equal to 2018. Then I will close the parentheses. So now we have the year 2017 measures, the year 2017 and 2018 measures. So we want to use the measures as comparative figures for the balance sheet. So again, what we'll do here, again, I will click on this balance sheet, rather the matrix. Then now instead of where I've used the values, so I will do away with this value. So I will drag and drop 2017. And again, I will also drag and drop 2018. So now you see when I drag and drop the measures for 2017 and 2018. So now our table has changed, so we need to reformat it again. So what I will do here, I will come to So after dragging and dropping the measures for 2017 and 2018, now we need to do away with the columns, because the year 2017 and 2018 will form part of the two columns for the comparative figures. So I will do away with this field under columns, such that we can only have 2017 and 2018. So from here now we need to again reformat our matrix. Again, I will click on this matrix, then click on this format button. Then I will go to subtotals. Then I will click on the plus and minus icons. Plus and minus icons are under row headers. So I'll click them on. Then from there now I will minimize and expand what is necessary. So we don't need the expansion of total current assets. Also total current liabilities. Then the net current assets, we don't need the expansion. Tangible assets as well, we don't need the expansion. Total tangible assets, but we need tangible assets. We need the tangible assets. And then intangible assets, we don't need the expansion. We don't need the details of total and current assets. Total net assets as well. Then capital employed, and we don't need the details of total capital employed. So this is the layout that we need. So again, I will now click off the plus and minus icons. So now we have the layout that we needed for balance sheet item, but now we don't have the comparative figures for year 2018. But before then, let me go to these measures. I want them to be in commas. So the same will apply in year 2018. So we don't have the figures for year 2018, but we want to assume that maybe we can make figures for year 2018. So now when you check on our balance sheet, you can see the total net assets and the capital employed are time. So that is necessary. So let's go back to our Excel workbook. So this was for the year 2017. So you want to assume that you want to copy the same values and change just the date to make the date to be for the year 2018. So I will select these values from here. So here we are selecting all the values, not just any values, but all the values. Then I will copy this and push them down here. So what I need to do, I will change the date for the year 2017 to 2018. So you want to have comparative figures for the balance sheet. Okay, then I will delete this. Just let me try to undo and delete this column with no figures, the empty row, and then I need to expand the table to capture the year 2018. So what we are trying to do here is that we are assuming that you followed all the necessary procedure. Now you've extracted another trial balance, and you've unpivoted, or rather you've expanded, then you've unpivoted the TB, and then the TB is for the year 2018, no, not 2017. So now you want to compare the figures of the balance sheet for 2017 and 2018. So let me save this this table. Then now we'll go back to Power BI, and I will try to refresh to see if the 2018 figures will reflect. Remember, we had done the measures for the year 2018. Exactly what we needed. So now you can see, now we have the comparative figures for the year 2017 and 2018. So if you were to make, rather if you were to create another balance sheet for the year 2019, you'll follow the same procedure. And this applies to profit and loss. When you want to also do the comparative figures, we just come up with the measures that we did here. Doing the measures is straightforward. It's not a complicated, rather the formulas are not complicated, so they are straightforward. So I hope, ladies and gentlemen, you understood. And I also need, I'll request you to give yourselves a challenge to do changes in equity. If you can follow this procedure that we've done for a balance sheet and the previous video that we did for P&L, I know you can as well do the report for statement of changes in equity. So the complicated part will be doing the cash flow, but we'll see how we can come out of that. But I've done a video of where we are using the DAX coding for income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow. So if you have time, you can scan through the videos and see where we worked, where we did the cash flow, balance sheet, and cash flow videos using Power BI. So I hope you guys enjoyed. So please comment, share my video, and please do subscribe if you haven't. And for those who have subscribed, thanks a lot for your support. So let's meet again when we are doing a different video. Maybe we'll do a statement of changes in equity, or maybe we'll do a different video. But thanks a lot for watching, and let's meet again on the next video.